welcome to the Recovery Daily Podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Abassi. I'm a grateful recovering alcoholic and stroke survivor, and I have some big news. I decided I'm going to have a party for myself for my 9-year anniversary, which is coming up at the end of this month. So I'm very excited about that. Um, that's the kind of thing I talk to my psychiatrist about giving myself things to look forward to, but also doing things for myself. Um, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to have a party. So I'm pretty excited. And that's why I'm a little perkier than normal this morning. I would like to be this perky every day, but we're just going to work on that. So this morning I went to both of my meetings, and I love when both topics come full circle for me. And that's what happened this morning. So the first meeting was off of the daily reflection, and it mentioned it was from the 12 and 12, the 12 steps and 12 traditions, and it was talking about the desire to struggle to the like as your role among other human beings, the desire to struggle to the top or to hide underneath, as a relationship, your relationship to other people. And I was thinking about how drinking, number one, but also stress kept me from understanding my role as a human among human beings. That's what I was thinking throughout the first meeting, and I'll go into that a little more. In the second meeting, we were reading, excuse me, sorry. We were reading from, I think it was still the 12 and 12, and we were talking about step 6. And I thought, like a lot of my character defects as I see them, the issue is my role among other human beings, is where I see myself compared to other human beings. And so I came to this realization throughout the morning over the 2 hours that I was sitting in my meetings about how for me it all comes down to step 10. And doing that daily inventory, looking at the end of the day, looking at my interactions with other people, and how that implementation of step 10 is also implementing step 6, which step 6 is about becoming willing to look at and let go of my character defects. Which again, my character defects, a lot of them have to do with ego, have to do with envy, and have to do with like self-righteousness, ego. So, yeah, so that's really how the topics kind of came together for me today. So, how I started off, really, my thought process about this idea of struggling to the top or hiding underneath. I was thinking about how before I got sober, I had a tendency to hide underneath. I was isolating. I was feeling really not worthy. I was feeling less than other people. Um, and I thought the solution for me was to just hide and not attract any attention towards myself because um, one, I had a lot of negative self-talk and fear and self-pity, but I also didn't want anybody to figure out what was wrong with me, that I had a drinking problem. So I was trying to hide and isolate. Then I got sober, and that ego that I was introduced, well, I started to see how that I did have an ego and how it was playing this role in my life that was keeping me from building strong relationships. Um, and I didn't realize that until I left my job and I removed all of those external stressors. But I'll get to that. So, not drinking, I become, they call it a pink cloud, but I become more confident in myself. It takes a while, but I start to see all that I'm capable of if I apply the steps of the program, if I work step 10 and I'm reviewing my relationships every day. I'm reviewing my interactions with people at the end of the day, and I'm looking back and I'm like, okay, maybe I owe this person an apology. But, I start thinking, oh, I've mastered this whole living thing. I've mastered this whole relationship thing, and I haven't. I forget about humility a little bit, and I start thinking that I am better. How about going from hiding underneath to starting to reach the top, like thinking that I am more worthy or that I'm better than other people. There were people that I ran across at work, and I was sharing about this morning in my meeting that um, I felt were not capable of their jobs. And I think that that's a normal feeling to look at other people and be like, they don't know what they're doing. you know? At least it was normal for me, and I'm not afraid to say that that's what I thought. There were other people that were not capable of their jobs. There were people that weren't honest. And in turn, I felt that they weren't capable because they were lying their way through. And but it was a way of me kind of pushing people to the side while I just kept trekking my way to the top. And those issues that derived from both ego and envy in a lot of ways um, were keeping me from understanding my role as a human among human beings and understanding that we are all on the same plane. And so once I had my stroke and I was left to with no other choice but to leave my job because of the chronic pain and the symptoms that I'm dealing with. Once those external stressors were removed post stroke, um, I have been able to more clearly see my role, clearly see um, really what some of those people that I felt were incapable of, what they were teaching me about myself. And that's fascinating. It takes a lot of humility to do that, but what else do I have now? I'm not trying to climb to the top of anything right now. Yes, I absolutely, because I'm only human, sometimes think, oh, I want my podcast to go viral, Um, because I think it's just natural for me to always want to be, I struggle with always wanting to be the best. And I have to again humble myself. I have to remember when it comes to this podcast that The goal of the podcast is to help one other human being. That's all it is. It's to help one other human being. And if I stay focused on that purpose, not only do I just keep coming back because it's not as much pressure to feel like I'm coming back for one human being. Um, but it also just humbles me um, and I end up watching listeners, the increase in listeners, um, and that's just, I just have to keep coming back. That's all I have to do. Stop thinking that this is for anything other than what I started it for, which was to to help my own recovery and along the way talk about my struggles so that somebody else doesn't feel so alone because I know I'm not unique. And I learned that from my sobriety program. So it's still challenging. I still am challenged by the same freaking character defects that I was when I first got sober. But today I have tools that I've been given for my program that that help me do that, that help me try to always get myself on the same plane as other people. And what I'm able to do now, and I don't mean it in past tense, like I don't have to work at it anymore, but is see the imperfections of others as what makes them human, right? Like what I learned from step 6 when I start looking at my own character defects, it's not to beat myself up. It's not to look at myself and be like, "Oh, you're crap." You have all these problems. It's really about looking at them, recognizing that I don't have to practice my character defects. If I look at them and acknowledge that they're there and acknowledge that they are keeping me from being the best version of myself, I can also look at them as just reasons why I'm human. Symptoms of being human. That's probably the best way to say it. So the tools of my program, starting with the steps, help me to recognize that. Some of the tools that I've been given in my sobriety program that help me put us all on the same plane. And it sounds terrible that I haven't always that I don't always feel like that I put myself above people or I put other people above me. But it's true. And that's what makes me, it's a symptom of being human. So, tools are praying for others. When I start being pissed off at somebody or thinking that somebody else is incapable, um, I try to remember to pray for them. And that's something that the program teaches us in the literature. It mentions that. Like, try to pray for somebody and do it every day. Even if you don't feel it, just do it. Go through the motion. And by the end of maybe a week, um, you start feeling what it is that you're praying for. You may start to see their symptoms, their human symptoms. And then forgiveness starts coming in. And um, I have been able to, by doing that, by praying for other people that I don't necessarily want to pray for, I have this. irritation, frustration with them that transforms into compassion for who they are as a human being. That they are um, a father, a husband, a son, a brother. I'm able to see that and offer a little more compassion. And when I do that internally, I am certain that the way that I speak to them changes. I am pretty bad at hiding that I'm irritated with somebody. And so when I practice these tools, it helps me to transform actually how I feel, how I truly feel, and then I communicate better. Some other tools that help me understand my role among other human beings is taking care of myself. If I'm not taking care of myself, I am not capable of being compassionate to other people. If I don't get enough sleep, I am not capable of being nice. I mean, I can be nice, but you can tell. You can tell that I don't want to be nice. Also, step 10. So before I even went to my second meeting this morning, where I started connecting step 10 with step 6, and for those of you who are not in sobriety, step 10 is doing that daily inventory at the end of the day, like where was I wrong? Where was I afraid? Where do I owe an apology? Like reviewing, was I the best version of me I could be today? And if not, where can I address that with other people? Like, do I need to call someone and offer an apology or something like that? That's step 10. And then step 6 is being willing to look at my character defects, to let go of my character defects. And so this connection between the two started to spark a little bit in my first meeting. And so when I went into the second meeting, I was like, wow, this is really being driven home for me today. But before I get into that, also knowing that things are not going to be okay, they already are okay. That's another way to tamper down my character defects, to know that you don't have to get all crazy, Rachel. Everything is okay. You don't have control. No matter how crazy you start obsessing about something, things are going to be the way that they are. Unless there's something I can change, things are going to work themselves out, whether I get all freaked out about it or not. So, moving into the second meeting this morning, we were talking more directly about defects of character. And when we read from the literature, it was talking about like, in the beginning, I was talking about like the process of our obsession with alcohol being lifted. And I've never been a big fan of communicating that to newcomers who are trying to stop drinking, that when people say, well, the obsession was just lifted, it was just like bam, it was just lifted. Only because it comes across as being some sort of magical thing that happens where if the planets align and you close your eyes and think hard enough, all of a sudden it'll go away. And that's not what happens for me. And that's all I can talk about. For me, what I had to do was make a decision. And that's step one. Make a decision to, I call it this all the time, turn off my wanter. I had to make a decision to live off of the suggestions of people in my fellowship, in my sobriety program, rather than living off of my own wants and instincts. And in my second meeting, they were talking about instincts. Like, we can't turn off our instincts, and we would be ridiculous to try to turn off our instincts. It's not possible. But whenever I hear the word instinct, I always think of George Costanza on Seinfeld. For those of you who are Seinfeld fans, George Costanza decides in one of the episodes that he's going to do the opposite of his instincts. Everything that he feels like he should do or his reaction, he's going to do the opposite. And what ends up happening throughout the episode is like he ends up having this amazing, beautiful girlfriend, and he gets a raise as at his job when normally, if he had done what he thought if he had followed his own instincts, he would have gotten fired. He would not have had this girlfriend and all of this stuff. So it's a pretty funny episode, but it really speaks to what I needed to do when I first got sober. When I sat on my recliner on a Saturday morning and just looked at the clock and was thinking, I don't want to go to this sobriety meeting. I had to do the opposite. I had to turn off my wanter and put my feet on the ground, get dressed, pick up my keys, and get in the car and go. And so I lost my train of thought, but that's okay. We're gonna keep going. Oh, so doing this, practicing this on a day-to-day basis, that is how slowly my character defects were lifted. Yeah, I was just talking about how I didn't feel like my obsession for drinking was just lifted automatically. I had to practice the principles in my daily affairs in order for it to begin to be lifted. That's what happened to me. And at the same time, my character defects, as I got to step 10, and I started to do the next right thing, because that's another way of saying doing the opposite. It's doing the next right thing. And so doing the next right thing, reviewing my step 10 every night, all of that stuff was building character to replace my character defects. And so at the end of my second meeting, I got to write down again the tools of my program help me do this. And I ended up writing the same tools of the program that I wrote down in the first meeting. So I always take notes in my meetings for my podcast, just not about what people are saying necessarily. Sometimes I'll write some notes that really spark some incredible ideas, but a lot of times it's like just what is coming up for me as I'm sitting in the meeting. And so it came back around to the tools of the program again. That's what helps me to build character. And that character helps me to be a better version of myself so um, I can improve my role as a human among other human beings, praying for others, using my God box. That's a huge one. Um, my God box has played a huge role in helping me improve my relationships, in helping me not destroy relationships or harm relationships, because instead of following my instincts and reacting to people, I would go home and write the person's name in my God box. Let God, let go, let God. And I would write the person's name down and I would stick it in the box. And that helped me to pause and not react to these people, to not climb above them and think that I'm better than them. It helped me to tamper down my character defect and keep me on the same plane as whoever it is that pissed me off, to put it not, I guess, not so nicely. But praying for others. Step 10, once again, allows me to gradually implement step 6. Step 10, by reviewing my day, sorry, I have a nose itch. By reviewing my day, where was I afraid? Where was I not the best version of myself that I could be? Um, just doing that, just making a decision to do my step 10 is practicing being willing to let go of my character defects. And at the end of the reading, in my second meeting, it talked about envy and self-righteousness, that envy and ego. And that's when I realized that the whole morning had come full circle, because envy and ego for me is what created that need to either climb to the top or hide underneath. So by focusing on maintaining humility, which is a big word in my program, I can work on being on the same plane as everyone else, knowing, not being, knowing that I am on the same plane as everybody else, and that um, my role today is to share my experience, strength, and hope, because I am not unique. And if I can help others with my pain, then then my purpose is being fulfilled for myself. That's how I feel. So it was a great morning. I had a lot of, I think, really strong ideas about humility and just understanding that sometimes I need to just quiet down and listen to other people, and not listen with judgment or anything like that, but just listen and pray for the best for them. Um, so that's what I've got for you today. Super pensive morning. Thanks for joining me, and I will talk to you tomorrow.